Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Hi.
day I have no idea of the judgment-free zone. I'm joined here by Miss IMENE. And I don't know if this is actually how you say your last name, but I always hear Dane say it this way, but BENZAMOUCHE. Is that right? Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Ooh, is that
day
mine?
I have no idea of the judgment-free
I
zone.
guess. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I had the YouTube link open. Oh my God. So now I'm worse in tech than Laura. She can feel good about herself. It is how you say my last name. It's Imen Benzamouche, and I love how you said it. Thank you.
So good. Well, I think this is a great start because our topic today is what's vulnerability got to do with it? And one of the great things about vulnerability is that you just get to show up, be you without judgment. So technical issues can happen, but it doesn't affect you and who you are and how you're showing up in the world. So that's our topic, vulnerability. And it's a big one, it's huge. It's oftentimes I get a bit misunderstood. I think a lot of people think vulnerability is like a weakness or something that you should avoid at all costs. But um, I'm wondering, Amen, if you'd like to talk a little bit about what has vulnerability and choosing vulnerability contributed to you, being you and showing up as you in the world.
I love that you said the piece of like the misunderstanding of what it means. And I love these things and how consciousness works. Because when I am scheduled to be on for a live for a specific topic, or I have a class, or I'm translating a class, or whatever I'm engaging with a creation, it works on me in such an amazing, but also an uncomfortable way. And this vulnerability piece has been on for me for like 2 months. And I was like, how can anyone be them if they don't have this? And how was I? Like, was I even being me so far, not having this piece? And I started looking at what is it that what is it in my life that I am not vulnerable with? What are the areas in my life, or what are the topics where I'm not vulnerable with myself? And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about when we talk about vulnerability, it's not like crying every 5 seconds, or it may be that, I don't know.
Sometimes it may start like that.
Yeah, sometimes it definitely may start like that, but it's this space of showing up like you are and not trying to be perfect and not trying to look like an image that you or someone else has decided that you have to be. So that is a big piece to look at when you actually desire. And if you're on these lives, perhaps you do desire to be you, more of you. So looking at that and looking at where have I not yet being vulnerable? Because we're sometimes good at also judging ourselves for not being something, but having the vulnerability to look at where I am not vulnerable was something that I was like, wow, what if this is a kindness that I can be to me? And that started changing some huge topics in my life that I considered, either, how can I say, either I considered them okay and nothing is needed there. I'm perfect there. none of us had that. I'm perfect in relationship. I don't need any relationship classes, or I don't need any being you classes. Um, so that taking myself out of the need of perfection and going into, oh, I actually don't need to be perfect, and actually would desire some more awareness and more consciousness lighten up this topic for me. If there is something that is not working, I would at least would like to know that it is not working. Like, how many of us just go through life not knowing? Have you ever had that, Megan?
No,
Or is it just
I,
me? Am
I,
I just,
I am perfect. I know everything and haven't really needed any of this. I'm just
I would
here.
say you are wonderful.
I'm totally kidding. So I think one of the cool things, like, when you're talking about it, it's like if you're listening to this, and you're like, okay, cool. I love that. And how do I get there? It's actually really easy. So one of the things you can do right now is to lower your walls and barriers. And just ask them to lower even more. And notice if you get a little like uncomfortable in that space and you want to like bring them back up and just ask them to drop even more. And if you tap into that space, that's more you. And from that space, it's like, how yummy is that for you and for your body? And you can do that anytime. It's like this, like, I mean, you're saying it's not about getting it perfect. Like, there are a million times a day when I realize I'm like, what am I doing? Who am I being? Why am I showing up like this? It's like, what is going on? And so you can just take a moment, notice when it's like, notice when you're not being you, or you started judging yourself or someone else or your body or whatever. And you can just be like, okay, if I was truly being me, if I was truly being vulnerable here, what would I choose? And lower your walls and barriers. It's really great if you're on a meeting or you're with your kids or you're anywhere. You can just start, and you can do it kind of throughout and just keep asking to lower the walls and lower the barriers. And notice when you do it, it gives people the space to do it as well, to be it as well.
That is so true
Yeah.
and yummy.
Like you said, I mean, this world, especially, we're on YouTube Live every day. It's like you're supposed to show up and be perfect and be this image of you. And what if what people are really looking for is the vulnerability, is to show up as them? One of my favorite lines in the Being You book is, now I'm going to forget it, is when you show up is, I think it's when you're being vulnerable, when you're being interesting point of view, when you're being the space of no judgment. It's one of the most seductive things in the world. That's a very long version of Dain's quote in there. But it's one of my favorite things because I think we kind of think it's the opposite. Like if I show up, I don't know, as with you, IMENE, but like sometimes as a woman, I'm supposed to show up and be strong or something like that. And it's like, who says that? Where was I taught that? Where did I learn that? Because I think vulnerability is seen as a weakness, but it's really not. There's so much strength in the space of vulnerability and the space of your being.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up a piece of being a woman. It's like in this reality, in this world, if you haven't noticed, guys, it's like whether you're a man, then you're taught from a very young age that you're not allowed to be weak, which is not vulnerable, but that gets defined or misapplied and misidentified as vulnerability. And then as a woman, maybe you're allowed when you're a kid, but then when you grow up, hey,
Hey, be
you're,
somebody.
you're strong, independent now.
Yeah, be an independent woman. Be a strong man.
Yeah, so you're expected and you're projected at we are. And if you haven't had this, then wow, you've got some really amazing peeps around you. And yay to you for choosing that. But like we get projected with these presumptions of who we should show up as. And it is so it's so subtle sometimes, I would say. And if we do not get to that space of being I translate into Arabic, and yesterday I was translating something and talking about vulnerability, and I was like, for me in Arabic it's like being naked. It just has that sense. If I say it, it has that sense of being naked, not literally, you don't have to get naked unless, that's your thing. But being with someone else and being that space of vulnerability is you showing up as you, as not with the makeup, with the, well, I have makeup on, but the energetic makeup. The energetic makeup, let's say, because I still like my makeup on. And to be honest, this has not been my lifetime experience. This is something that I had to work on really, really, really with a lot of presence, because I was always someone that, like, oh my God, it even brings up stuff for me if you notice. I always thought that I needed to show up as this, either as a kid, as the kid that should get the family, like, yeah, I'm getting vulnerable, Katyusha said. I thought I had to show up like the kid that holds the family together. And then I still think that that's my job. So oh wow, maybe I should share this story. This is a very vulnerable thing. So a few years ago, I may or may not cry. I don't know.
Go for it. We gotcha.
Right? Thank you. So a few years ago, my grandfather died. And I received the information before my sisters. I have two amazing sisters. And I was home with them, and I was the one who received the information. But my oldest sister had an exam the next day, a very important exam that would like define her life, basically. And my other sister had something else, or I can't remember what my youngest sister had, but I decided somewhere that I should not even let them know, because this may affect their state of being. And I wanted so much to take care of them, but in my world, that was kind of devastating, because I had to keep that news for me. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not even allowed to cry. I can't be vulnerable because they will know. And I care so deeply for them. And that's also not actual caring, because I decided that they can't handle it and they should be protected in a way that maybe they shouldn't have or can't totally handle it. So I really lived that moment as a space of not being allowed to be vulnerable, as a caring for others.
Yeah.
And I wonder how, and I'm sharing this so maybe you guys watching now or in the future to look at your lives and see if there is anything that you are doing and not being that vulnerability. You don't have to kill your grandpas to experience this.
I think that it's such a beautiful story, because I think a lot of us are strong. And what if the strength that you are and the vulnerability can actually coexist? So, in this reality, it's like you can either be strong or weak. It's like the opposite. But what if you can show up in any situation with total vulnerability, and that doesn't mean weakness? Like, what you did was an incredible kindness to know that your sisters, them not receiving that information on that day might have contributed more to their future than having them find out. But your strength allowed you to be that. So I think the other key thing is to be vulnerable is to really stay out of judgment of you and of anyone else. And how beautiful,
Oh, thank you for that. That's a piece that I did not acknowledge. You see, behind this thing that you may have judged, There may be a strength and power and potency that, baby, for me, now is the time to be. Now is the space. Now is the time. And what if all of us can have more of us? And wow, it's just, yeah. Thank you for saying that, Megan. That's beautiful.
And you said that this is something that I think this area of vulnerability, I can also say it's definitely not come easy. It's like, I think I've spent my whole life building barriers and putting up walls around me to protect me from the intensity of my awareness and the um, oftentimes what I'm finding lately, and I don't know about you guys, but sometimes what I'm protecting myself from is the intense amount of beauty that people are, that the world is, that the earth is. And sometimes when I let those walls down and I perceive just like the beauty of another being, the beauty of the earth, the beauty of, I'm in all of these access classes and getting to see people's whole worlds melt and change around me. If I like truly become the vulnerability that I be, I feel like I'll cry forever because it's it's like so intensely beautiful. So I notice that I'll like put up a little like, here's a wall to like kind of keep me and the world at a distance. And so I'm really asking to change that, to allow it all in, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I think a lot of times we think that we're trying to keep the ugly out or the negative judgment out. But what if what you are also keeping out in that is the true beauty of being alive and of being you? So everything that is, can we just destroy and uncreate it?
Yes. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, online shirts, boys, perverts, and beyonds. And that's the clearing statement in case you just stumbled upon this live and don't know what it is. Go to the clearingstatement.com. Words are a thing.
You can use at any time, and you can go to just check it out. It sounds weird, but it's awesome. We have a question from I think it's Deborah or Deborati, I'm not sure, but on YouTube, she's saying, when I don't function from image, people do not know how to function around me. Yes, that does show up. And what if, again, it's kind of like IMENE was saying, it's like, what if you being present as you can also be present and vulnerable with whatever is going on for the other person. And they may be squimmering, they may be uncomfortable, they may not know how to handle you. And what if that's okay? What if in that moment you don't have to look to raise the guards to protect them from you or you from them or anything like that? And just if you be there with that moment of uncomfortable, it feels uncomfortable. It's like, la, it's like all your molecules are like shaking. What if you just be present with it without judgment and see if it shifts and changes? And if people don't want to be around you, then that's cool. Less people around you. And if they don't know how to function, just be more space, expand out even more, lower your walls even more. And then they have the choice to be uncomfortable and run away or enjoy the space.
And that for me is a celebration. It's like when you read that, people don't know how to be around. I'm like, well, yes, cool.
Yep. I had a man once who stopped me in the airport. I was traveling and I had my son, and I think he was like 6 years old at the time, just running around. So I was just kind of waiting and watching him run before we boarded the plane. And this man came up to me and he said, I've been watching people in the airport for over an hour, and you're the one person that I can't figure out. And I was like, yes, So it's like, what if you being you don't have to be something that other people can understand. You don't have to be something that gets put into a box. If someone wants to judge you as this or judge you as that, let it all be there. Be aware of it all, allow it to be there, and be vulnerable with it and see what shows up for you. I think it's the key to the judgment-free zone is to really amp up the vulnerability by lowering your walls and barriers.
And that judgment, the thing is that judgment has nothing to do with you. It's like, it has to do with the person judging. Like, even when you look at someone judging you as doing this or that or not doing this, if you, I always use this example of people pointing a finger at you. I'm like, they've got three fingers towards themselves. Just saying. So it's like, yes, they are showing you something. And if there is something for you to explore, and if they said something bad about you
Or good about you.
or good about you, exactly. Thank you for the words. Um, you can explore that and see, oh, if that person said I'm great or I'm beautiful, where have I not acknowledged that I'm beautiful and great? And if they said I'm mean, my sisters used to call me, you are like, amen, you're so mean. And forever I used to just avoid that and reject it and have so many walls and barriers. But then at some point, when I started using the tools of access, actually, I started looking at it and I was like, what are they calling mean? And I discovered that it was everything, every time that I told them something that they were not willing to receive, even if it was true. From my point of view, it was just like, I'm pointing out what is true. Why are you mad at me? But in their world, it wasn't a kindness. And I had to look at that with myself and be like, do I want to be the kindness in the world, or do I want to show up as what these people that I actually care for see as mean? And I was like, no, I'll just keep the stuff to me. And then if they're willing to hear it, I will say it in a way they are willing to hear it. It's amazing I'm talking about my sisters so much. I don't talk about my family usually. This is vulnerability, ladies and gentlemen. I love that.
Non-judgment zone and being you day coming up.
Yeah.
It's, I think a lot of where you have created your personality as comes from your family. Like, you know, your family told you this, or your mom told you this, or your parents told you this. And some of it's great, some of it's not. But it's, again, if you're willing to be vulnerable, it's like, what if mean isn't wrong? What if mean isn't right? What if mean is just a choice you have in the moment? And it isn't unless you're vulnerable with you to know if you are being mean, if they're accusing you of something that you're not being. But it's like, I can be mean, but unless I'm willing to like really be present and vulnerable with myself, I don't know when I'm being mean, you know? So it's like, these are tools for you. These are tools for you to get clear on who you're being, who you're showing up as, and who you'd like to choose to be in the world. Because you can change anything. How you show up is your choice. If you're being a mean person, you can change it. It's your choice to change it. But if you're like, I'm not mean, I'm amazing, or I'm the nicest person in the whole world, it's like, from a space of vulnerability, you could look at, okay, when am I being mean to me? When am I being mean to others? When am I, you know, judgment alone of you or your body is not really a kindness. So what else is possible from this space? And I love the titles, What's Vulnerability Got to Do with It? Because it's such a massive topic. And it's also one of the most uncomfortable. You can feel it, the energy kind of like it goes there for a little bit, and then we like, you know, dip in and out. And that's cool. How does it get better?
How does it? And I love the way you put it, Megan. And I wonder, do you have any specific tools that you have used to get yourself out of that judgment zone into the vulnerability zone?
I think really the one I gave, like lowering my walls and barriers, because what I notice is that if I'm in judgment of me, or if I'm perceiving judgment, or if I'm like projecting that people are going to judge me, or expecting that people are going to not like me or whatever, I've already started building the wall. I'm really, really good at walls. Okay. Like I have the best wall system. I have one here and here. And then if you get around that one, I've got like another one that pops up. So it's like really like, okay, lowering all of them and keep lowering. And the moment that I thought that I like think that I've gotten somewhere, it's like another one pops up. And but I know for me, what I'm here for is to be more of me. Like I know that. And I'm continuously asking for that all the time. So sometimes when you are on this like demand for you to be everything that you are, all the things that start showing up can be a little bit uncomfortable, but being vulnerable with it and like literally just like, okay, we have the 10 keys of total freedom in access consciousness. If you haven't heard about them, there's a book called The 10 Keys of Freedom. And one of them is, would an infinite being truly choose this? So would an infinite being truly choose to judge this, to judge someone, to judge yourself? Would an infinite being not be able to handle the intensity that vulnerability can be? That's one I go through those as well, I would say, is I use the tools, and there's a lot I think that's been given over the days. What about you? Do you have any go-to tools?
That's an awesome go-to. 10 keys to total freedom. Cool. I would say the the I asked you the question. And I was like, I don't even have an answer to that question. All the tools. Good job, Megan, replying to that.
You know, I had like 1,000 go through my head at one time, and I was like, wait, just let's pick one.
So my go-to with judgment specifically is to look at judgment as something that is totally arbitrary and not about me. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, and you talked about the walls, and like you talked about that building a wall, the like perceiving the judgments even before you go into a conversation, you already perceive those judgments. And if you think they are about you, then you go and alter your very being to match those judgments, either with a resistance and reaction because you do not desire to receive them, or with an alignment and agreement because you would rather align and agree with this person or this situation to look right. So either this or that, you are building those walls and you don't even discover what's true for you, and you lose you on the way. And you talked about something where you said, I know I am here to be more of me and to be me. I truly love that. And for me, that takes me to the trust that you have. And I had this deep sense that you are trusting that. And no matter where this leads you, like using the tools, no matter where it's going to lead to, as long as you are present and you're lowering your barriers and your walls, it just gives you more of you. So I also want to ask all of you, what is it that you decided that you cannot handle with these walls? Is it the judgment? Is it your beauty, like Megan said, or someone else's beauty? And what if that is not going to show up the way you think it's going to show up? Because we go into those tiers and we think that we're gonna fall apart, or we feel like we're going to explode. What if that's just our resistance to the wall? And if the wall is not there and you just allow yourself, like when I was telling the story about my grandpa, I was going to cry, and then I was like, whew, no walls, no barriers, expand out. And I was like, I ain't gonna cry. So that piece of not making judgment relevant to you, and especially not to your being. You as a being have no judgment. You are this spaciousness and beauty, no matter how you are showing up on this planet. But what if you are beyond all of that, all of what you thought that you needed to show up as? And everything that does not allow you to be, know, perceive, and receive that will you destroy and uncreate it times a godzillion.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pockle, nine shorts, boys, poets, and beyond. That was so brilliant and so beautiful. I think a great place to wrap up. I don't even know what else to say after that.
This is amazing, and we are amazing. This is
We are.
something that I started acknowledging. Like I used to say to people, "You are amazing," and I'm like, "Oh, we are amazing."
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Truly, what else is possible now?
Yes. So today, go throughout your day or whenever you watch this and just everything that we've just explored, just ask to be it, ask to show up, ask for more vulnerability. And if you do end up crying for 3 days, it's okay. You won't cry forever. You'll get up and be happy. It's just part of the process. Have kindness with you.
And also keep watching these lives. There are more leading up to the 22nd of June. That is Being You Day.
Oh,
So it's all leading up to the day, but also this is the beginning of you, basically.
and the man of the hour, Dr. Dain Heer, the one who's inspired all of this. And truly, I'm not sure I would have ever known that I could be me without him in the world. And to know the space of vulnerability that he chooses all the time. He's the big finale is on June 22nd. So get your free ticket. Invite anyone that you know to this. You can go to beingyouday.com to join, and you can also check out all the past interviews and future interviews there. And I'm excited. This is really cool. So
It's wonderful. And thank you, amazing translators and everyone who's contributing to this creation. Oh my God, the hosties and all of everyone. Thank you, Megan. I am so grateful and so excited to watch more of these lives. What else is possible?
bye guys.
Ciao.